And as the day goes on, I think you're going to find these showers will tend to become heavier and more frequent, and many of them could well turn out later on in the day to be fairly thundery with some, oh dear.
And 50 years after weather symbols were first used on the BBC, we find out how a magnetic sticker changed forecasts forever.
My things.
Helen, thank you very much.
See you later.
Now, today marks 50 years since a young design student by the name of Mark Allen changed TV weather forecasts forever by creating the iconic symbols still used today.
Yeah, very iconic, aren't they? The magnetic symbols back in the day could be moved around on steel charts, and they gave viewers a clearer understanding of the forecast. And our reporter Tim Muffet looks back at just how much the technology has changed.
I'm Bill Giles, and I forecast a burst of nostalgia.
Here with the weather forecast is Bert Ford.
Hello there, and if you got wet today, well, you were decidedly unlucky.
Weather presenters first appeared on TV in the 1950s.
Looking fairly simple, high pressure over the Alps, low pressure.
The first in-vision weather presenter was George Cowling in 1954. Sadly, there's no recording of his first broadcast, but he reminisced about it years later.
We'd been briefed to try to be a bit human, and I mentioned that tomorrow was going to be a good day for hanging out the washing, and this was something that had never been said before, and the press really took this up.
The 70s brought more change, forecasts in colour, the first weather woman, Barbara Edwards.
With radio, one hasn't had to worry about what one's wearing. Nobody sees you. But, God, this is quite a change.
But you are giving your wardrobe some careful thought.
Oh, I certainly am, yes.
But there was a problem. The symbols on the map were a bit confusing.
If you wanted to show a shower coming, you had a triangle. If you wanted to show fog, there was 3 horizontal lines, and rain was just a dot.
They didn't make much sense because they were scientifically based in order to mark on the chart in a way that the Met Office preferred.
As the manager of BBC weather forecasts, Hugh Shepherd wanted better symbols. A design student, Mark Allen, who was working at the BBC, came up with some, and they were rolled out on August the 16th, 1975.
It made the forecasts easier to understand. They were classic.
Area of rain, sleet or even snow tending to gradually peter out during the course of the night.
But what made them even more memorable was the material they were made from.
Central and southern parts of the country.
Magnetic rubber, which opened up a world of possibilities.
So what clearer weather will be following in behind. It allowed us then to actually move the forecast through the day. In other words, we could start off with a nice little white cloud, a little bit of sunshine, but nothing very much. And then we could put one of these on, which is a snow shower, and put that on the top so that we could go to the afternoon forecast saying it might be nice to start with, but you're going to get some snow showers, but the temperatures will rise a little bit, so it'll become sleet.
And how did this change the way forecasts were delivered?
Well, it enabled us then to actually do movement for the first time ever. Before that, it was very static. But this will be clearing away as the winds freshen up, and they will become quite strong from the north as we go through the day.
What were these magnetic symbols like to work with?
Oh, they were lovely, but you had to be a little bit careful with them. Sometimes they lost their magnetism or the polarity was wrong, and so you'd put one on and it would fall off.
Cue a very famous clip from Michael Fish.
And as the day goes on, I think you're going to find these showers will tend to become heavier and more frequent, and many of them could well turn out later on in the day to be fairly thundery with some, oh dear, these let's do it again.
What we used to do, if you found that you had some that had lost its magnetism and you realised the person coming on the next day could cope with it, you'd slip 1 or 2 of these in the other ones. So if they hadn't practiced too much, then when they came on, that would happen.
Bill, you were pranking each other on live national television.
Oh, yes.
Bill, I'm disappointed and surprised.
It's great fun. As long as it didn't happen to me.
It's only when expert weathermen like Bill Giles and his colleagues stick on familiar symbols like these that I have any idea of what's going on.
Blue Peter presenter Simon Groom might have loved them, but in 1985, the magnetic symbols gave way to the digital revolution.
This clever little box is called a mouse, and it's linked up to an arrow on the screen called a cursor. The weatherman selects a symbol and puts it where he likes.
It's going to be visually superb.
Yeah?
You know, it really will be fantastic.
Michael Fish delivered the bombshell news to the nation.
Well, that's the actual end of the forecast, but as far as the weathermen are concerned, tonight is a very important night indeed, because it marks a complete change in the weather. We're going to say goodbye to all these magnetic symbols. We're going to say goodbye to this magnetic licorice, or as Ian calls it, his knicker elastic. All that remains is for me to wish you all a very good night and say goodbye to all this.
50 years after they were introduced, and magnetic weather symbols are very hard to find. Bill has a few. In 2019, a set turned up on the Antiques Roadshow.
We have here a group of BBC magnetic weather symbols. It's gone into our national consciousness. You're probably looking at about, what, £2,000 or so for the collection?
The designs live on and are still used on the BBC website and weather app.
They were simple, they were self-explanatory. 50 years later, and they're still being used.
No longer magnetic, but still as clear as day. A design classic. Tim Muffet, BBC News.
That's a side of Michael Fish I've not come across before.
Who needs fancy graphics,
I know.
eh?